Hi, I'm Kat Johnson. I've been on the team for about a year and 8 months.
And I'm Alex Chanson, and I've been on the team for about a year and 10 months.
So what are some of the struggles that you've been experiencing with SMT?
I feel like some of the struggles is that there are a lot of expectations and a lot of different things that we may not have thought of when we're just on a regular team that we have to think of as an SMT. So going from scheduling to perf to roles to making sure we respect other roles that people have had even prior to SMT and how it all fits in so that we can keep core and customer experience at a high level, but also making sure that we're keeping our happiness and morale also at a high level.
Nice. Well, of course, ask the happiness guy what the negatives are, or the hard things that we're doing. It's hard to follow that, but I think that in terms of what we are struggling with, like a few things, would be like the pacing and ensuring that everyone's voice is heard. You start to recognize, why when things get done at Google, it's usually a room of like 3 people, right? It's because it's very hard to balance like the pros and cons and really see each issue from each side. So I think that that's a little bit of a struggle and a huge learning curve for us. I also think that when we make decisions, we get kind of stuck in this is going to be the decision forever. And
Not like that.
Once you do it, you realize the next week in an SMT, we actually completely change the decision. So you freak out, like, all this effort, and you think through such a big decision, and then it ends up being altered in a slight way. So I think getting comfortable with the pace and the environment of change, and being comfortable with, okay, this is the decision this week, but next week it's Google and it's an SMT, which is like a Google on steroids. So it's totally going to change even more next week, and I think getting comfortable with that and getting used to it is kind of where it is.
Yeah.
Right now we're discussing everything with everyone and getting all perspectives, which is great, don't get me wrong. But if we did have people taking point on things and making more decisions on their own, I think that we would have less meetings.
Pretty bittersweet. Last team meeting, I brought up that I'll be leaving the team. Actually, when I brought it up, like my heart kind of sank for a bit. I just like felt like all this pressure. I was like, I have an announcement, and it was like this scary pause. But it's been like really bittersweet. I'm really sad to leave, but excited at the same time. And because of that, it was just brought upon us like we need to find another person to come into SMT, which is a perfect example of the kind of change and things that we have to deal with. Like who are we going to bring on? What's the timeline? Do we want to create a process? How do we make sure everyone's opinions are heard? Is the culture still there? Are our values there? So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, because, one, we were never in the process of who's going to come onto the team. Usually the manager is just like, or the manager, it's just like, this is who we have. And so now it's like we actually have a process or a say in who we want to be on our team and who we want to work with, which is something completely different and something that I really value about SMT. It's going to be some big shoes to fill, though. Some real big shoes. I mean, but I feel like on top of the fact that we have to hire someone new, we've already prepared our team for the possibility of people to leave, which kind of takes the pressure off. So for our SMT1, we decided to have 2 facilitators in the instance that someone did leave. We could have somebody to come on and just kind of fill in the blank instead of us leaving like, our leader has gone. And so now I feel like although we have to find a new member, we're not going to be so scrambled to enter in roles or figure it out. And as Alex said, he's not worried.
Yeah, it also gives you more transparency into like the kind of issues that our managers usually deal with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that we wouldn't think twice. Somebody leaves the team, it happens all the time. And it's pretty easy transition. But we've realized in the last few days it's not that easy, right? Like there's a lot to be thought out. So it's been really, I think, interesting to be able to absorb some of that kind of managerial thought leadership and work.
Yeah, and then on the last part, we have to think about if it's scalable. So how are we going to create a process where if the entire team is now SMT, how is it scalable to figure out who we want to pick? Is it going to be metrics based? Is it going to be based on their personality, based off of perk buckets? What does that look like? And so it's really been interesting to kind of make sure that we take in consideration that everybody is going to be a superstar across the board, but how do we take in consideration people who are passionate about innovation and creativity and would be willing to balance or at least be a supporting member in our SET and how we're growing?